Hello, my name is Jesper, and today I would like to talk about chapter 5 through 6 in the book The Martian. I will start out by giving a summary about the two chapters. In chapter 5, Mark needs to get the hydrogen out of the hab. His plan is to remove most of the oxygen from the hab. This way he can make sure that the hydrogen doesn't have a component to react with, and that the hydrogen doesn't have a way to blow up the hab with him in it. He starts out by removing the oxygen, but let a little amount stay, so the hydrogen has a little oxygen to react with. This way he can remove a little hydrogen at a time by making an explosion and using up the hydrogen and the oxygen. The only problem with this is that the bacteria that live in the earth soil will die and make the dirt unusable. What fixes this problem is that he decides to cool down the hab, making the bacteria hibernate. But this way the potato plants will die from having the temperature set that low, so Mike decides to put all the plants in small bags, then moving them out to the rover having the heat on, and this way the potato plants will not die from temperature. Under the process of burning the hydrogen in the hab, he wouldn't need to have a spacesuit on because the atmosphere in the hab is fine, and all he needs is oxygen, so he takes a breather from the medbay and uses that to breathe in oxygen. Mark was now ready to burn up the hydrogen in the hab. All was going fine. He made a small explosion in the hab, burning the hydrogen and oxygen in the air. He continued this process, but suddenly there was a big explosion, knocking him down and throwing the breather off his mouth. He needed oxygen and saw a spacesuit on the wall. He hurried over to it and breathed through the neck hole and got oxygen. Now he turned on the flow of oxygen in the hab again so he could breathe. The reason that the explosion happened was because he was using a breather instead of a spacesuit. The air that he exhaled contained oxygen because his body didn't absorb 100% of the oxygen that he inhaled. The extra oxygen then reacted with the hydrogen, and as he lit a spark to make a small explosion, the extra oxygen made it so that the explosion was bigger than he thought. He did not account for the extra oxygen that he exhaled, so it kept building up as he exhaled. In chapter 6, we are back on Earth, where we have the NASA crew working. Ted, the director of NASA, had just delivered a speech at the memorial of Mark. Venkan, the director of the Mars mission, asked Ted for permission to use the satellite to look at Ares 3 on Mars. Ted declines because he is scared to find Mark's body on the picture, and he has to make the pictures public. From SATCON looked over the satellite pictures of Ares 3 and discovered that Mark was alive. He saw this because the solar panels was cleaned and the rover was parked off the hab in a way that it was not said in the report. Also, the MAV or the MAV was the bottom half that was left on Mars was scrapped into parts that Mark has used. They hold a meeting discovering the evidence and figure out a plan for what to do. They decide to make a press conference telling the public about the fact that Mark is alive. They're trying to figure out a way to get Mark back home to Earth. They have a plan, but it puts the Ares 3 crew at risk, so it is declined by the director of NASA. Characters that we meet in chapter 6. We meet Venkat, who is the director of the Mars missions and the one who have controls over the Mars missions and the people working on them on the Mars missions. We also meet Ted, who is the director of NASA. He had just delivered a speech at the memorial of Mark, and now he discovers that Mark is alive. He is also the one who declines Venkat permission to use the satellites to look over the Ares 3 area. Mendy, who is a mechanical engineer that works in SATCOM at NASA, she overlooks the pictures from the satellite in orbit around Mars, and she is the one who found out that Mark was alive, and reports it to Venkat, the director of the Mars missions. Then we meet Annie, who is the director of media relations of NASA, and is the one who controls the press and the media around NASA. You also meet Morris and Chuck, who helps analyze the situation on Mars for Mark, and tells what there is on Mars in terms of resources and stuff.